Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recent devastating floods in Kerr County and throughout central Texas highlight the need for critical flood early warning systems to alert the public. And many rural river systems in Flash Flood Alley are home to youth camps, campsites, RV parks, and other large gathering sites near flood-prone rivers. With limited cell phone connectivity in parts of this region, there's need to go back to what I call old-school technology, the outdoor warning sirens, which we know work to go work with cell phone alerts, which unfortunately are rather overloaded at this point in time. Senate Bill 2 requires the Texas Water Board to identify areas that have a history of severe flooding as well as other relevant factors such as loss of human life to flooding and existence of residences and other dwellings in flood-prone areas. Upon identification of these key areas, the board will direct the municipality or county to install outdoor warning siren systems. The bill requires the Water Development Board to adopt rules and procedures to implement the bill, including procedures for operation of an outdoor warning siren in a flood-prone area of the state, minimum standards for an outdoor warning siren installed, maintained, or operated in a flood-prone area, minimum standards for a backup operating system capable of powering an outdoor warning siren in a flood-prone area that's different from the primary operating system. And lastly, the board may consult with other entities when adopting rules and procedures. Water Development Board shall require the appropriate municipality or county to install, maintain, and operate one or more outdoor warning sirens following rules adopted by the board if the site of the installation is within the boundaries of the municipality. Municipality shall install, maintain, and operate the siren in unincorporated areas of the county. The county shall install, maintain, and operate the siren. Lastly, Senate Bill 2 allows for the use of any money made available from the state to assist municipalities and counties and other governmental entities in covering the cost of installation of outdoor warning sirens. The grant program will be funded in Senate Bill 3 by Chairman Huffman. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 2 moves the administration of the grant program from the Water Development Board to the Office of the Governor. The bill gives them the authority to delegate to another state agency the administration of the grant program. Lastly, the substitute makes technical corrections to the bill as filed, but no other substantial changes. When we started this off discussion right after the weekend of July the 4th, we had reached out to LCRA and worked with them on a white paper to estimate the cost of implementing the program. They estimated the initial capital investment to be no greater than $50 million, and that will be funded in Senate Bill 3. We have today John Hoffman, Executive President of Water for LCRA, as a resource witness from the Texas Water Development Board to discuss Senate Bill 2. Be happy to answer any questions.
Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Bettencourt. Tell me this, will the grants be available if a county already has a siren system in place? Will the grants be available for upgrade?
For upgrades, yes. I don't believe for existing installations. The language basically uses the disaster. The county's already declared in disaster by the governor, and then additional for other areas of the state as we have funding for.
I've got one county that's got a system of sirens in Comal County, but they're interested in a phase 2, which improves them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Mendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Bacon, first of all, thank you for doing this. One of the concerns or questions that I have is during the marathon hearing that we heard that the Upper Guadalupe River Authority had applied for a grant and that they had currently, I think, $3 million in reserves. And so I know that Flood Alley is longer than just there. I'm just wondering, in order for us to cover as much of the Texas Flood Alley as possible, if certain river authorities have funds that they had designated, would the granting process take into consideration that they had, or are we just going to address it? What do you envision how these monies are going to be allocated?
the history of this bill is quite simple.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people, including the governor, lieutenant governor, thought of sirens as an idea within about a 12-hour period on Sunday after the tragic events of what happened on July 4th. The governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker have all said that we should have to get this job done within a year.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why the sub puts the grant program into the governor's office is so that things can be sped along, because there may be monies that need to go to TDM versus the water board, et cetera. And actually, we had multiple drafts of that bill that swung back and forth between those two groups. So I was kind of happy to hear that the governor's office wanted to take that responsibility, because it's important to be able to get those monies deployed as soon as possible. And to your specific question, the Upper Guadalupe River Authority had a grant, and Kerr County had stuff in the previous decade, and we'll leave that behind. They had a grant application in 2021. The Water Board granted them a 5% actual grant on $1 million plus a 30-year no interest-free loan for
Right.
30 years.
Right.
That was for 10 water crossing alert systems, which would have been sirens and I believe stanchions that would have come.
They were. We can talk about BRA in the next round, but it was related to more weather monitoring gauges, not really low water or otherwise. So.
Okay, so that one, however, they did not pursue that grant from that point because two reasons, quite frankly. One, I think they had a bias against this type of river warning system.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you remember the testimony, because I know Senator Blanco and we were all sitting there, I did bring up the president of the Upper Guadalupe River Authority, because he had basically made the comment that this type of system would not have saved any lives.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the data that he had just presented was that this wall of water was moving at 17 miles per hour and was 7 miles upstream. And simple Aggie math would tell you that would give 24 minutes for a system like that to work. To the chairman's comment, if it was tied into an existing gauge system, then that would have given 24 minutes of warning. And then I proceeded to ask the emergency management coordinator, the sheriff, and the judge, because they had come up with that unfortunate bias in their conversation or their written comments, and they all recanted that. So that's really the history of this.
I remember, and I will. My thoughts are that we definitely need to put a system like this as fast as possible anywhere in Flood Alley, anywhere where we're prone to floods. My concern is that if we have parts of Texas whose river authorities don't have $3 million in their reserve accounts, that we don't use tax dollars for areas that can afford to pay for their own, and that's my concern, is just how do you apply it? Because it almost feels like we had the chair of the UGRA say that they didn't appreciate this, and now we're going to go fix their problem for them.
Well, they have revised and extended their remarks.
Members, this river authority conversation will be had under SB 1, and it's totally disconnected from siren conversation.
All right.
And if
Thank
I could,
you.
Mr. Chairman, just
Funding.
one
Senator
quick.
Bettencourt.
They've publicly said they're going to spend $1.5 million of that, but I'll yield to the chairman.
All right, thank you. That answers my
That's
question.
happened since the hearing.
That answers my question.
Right,
Thank you,
okay.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I'll just do an umbrella. Everybody wants something tomorrow. Hurricane season's upon us. The practicality of doing a lot of this stuff just from strictly a supply chain issue and coordination makes it a challenge we should take on and do as efficiently and effectively as possible. Sirens will save lives, but sirens in themselves are not the total answer. Sirens have to be planned strategically and coordinated with other warning systems, or they're not worth the noise they make. So under the SB 1 later, there is a whole panel of experts that know how to build out coordinated and attached systems so that they're all autonomous from human having to actually activate them. And so we'll get there. I hope we can get some things on the ground quick. In that canyon area, I'll just use Lubbock again as an example. We don't have canyon areas, but we have 45 sirens. It was $1 million, 2-hour backup supply. Test them every month, I believe. So they're not unaffordable, but how and where you put those in that terrain is going to require some time. Just deployment in one where the wall blocks it once it goes and you only get an area of 50 yards is not going to be what we're looking for. You've got other considerations as far as broadband and communications that some of this stuff connects to. So it's going to require some coordination, but I was just talking to my staff that we intend to push really hard and really fast. But supply chain on some of this stuff is probably the slowest component. Thank you. All right, any questions for the bill author, Senator Blanco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Bettencourt. Great bill, really supportive, very much needed. Just a quick question regarding the long-term maintenance of these systems. Will that fall on the municipalities or counties to maintain them long-term?
We had that debate because, as the chairman talked about, what you've got to do this is you're going to have communication towers to the sirens. You're going to have 5G, Starlink. You're going to have backups, et cetera. Right now, this is a grant program to do install and maintain and operate the siren. So I believe that that is contemplated with this. Part of the problem is that you can deploy a siren like this, but it is a technology that requires maintenance. And also what you want to avoid are effectively false negatives, where you've got an alert that occurs that really is not there, because that will knock down the public's public's confidence in this type of system. So, yes, there is maintenance required in this, and that's why I think the governor's office at this point in time on the grant is better to coordinate between TDM and the water board and the applicants at this point than really any other point in the government.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Bill Arthur? Senator Flores.
Senator Bettencourt, thank you for the bill. I just wanted to follow up on Senator Blanco's comments. So my main concern is whenever we have these type of programs that we don't have administration costs, what it costs to administer X number of FTEs exceeding operational costs. I mean, we put in infrastructure, but if you don't maintain them, with the technicians and things of that nature, so what safeguards, what assurances can you give me that we're going we won't have administration costs that exceed operational costs?
If we have administration costs that exceed $50 million, then we're going to have a serious problem. Let me read
known to happen, so we want to make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, let me read the one line from the bill that addresses that, which is, it's item C on the grant program. The governor may delegate to a state agency the authority to administer the grant program established under the section. Knowing NIM Kids' penchant for efficiency, I can not necessarily speak for the director, but I would believe that would not occur. But that's something that the governor's office will have to watch. But TDM is extremely administratively light at the top end. So.
Thank you. I concur. Thank you.
Any other questions for Bill Arthur? Hearing none.